Hey guys, it's Joe the Big Nerdy Biker. Finally gonna do something nerdy on my channel. Gonna review Masters of the Universe Revelation. The review is gonna be broken down into 3 parts. First part is going to be a no spoiler section where I'll give you my recommendation whether to or not to watch the show with a little bit of stuff on it. I'm gonna try to be very safe to avoid spoilers there. Second part is going to be addressing the butthurt. There's a lot of butthurt with this show. I want to address it. I don't think I can do this review without addressing the butthurt. So we're going to address that, and then we're going to circle back around to discuss the story itself. As always, I encourage you guys to use the comments section so we can open up a dialogue. This channel is only going to get better if we talk to each other. And I guess it's about time to get this whole thing started. Here we go. Okay, now on to our discussion here. Like I said, I'm going to start off with the initial review of the show without spoilers. Then I will get into some of the butthurt that's going on with the show, and then some deeper discussion on the show. Masters of the Universe Revelation, a continuation of the cartoon from the 80s. I watched the hell out of out of He-Man, Masters of the Universe, when I was a child. Watched the hell out of it. I had so many of the He-Man toys, so many of the Masters of the Universe toys. It was sickening. You don't need to have seen the original cartoon to be able to watch this, I believe. It helps. Of course it helps to have a point of reference, but you don't need to have the experience with Masters of the Universe to be able to sit down and then watch the show and know what's happening. They reintroduce, I should say, a lot of the original characters really quick. Just give you a glimpse. Boom, here's Trapjaw, here's Beastman, here's Triclops, here's Mossman, here's Man-at-Arms, here's Teela, here's the Sorceress, here's King Randor. Boom, 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 boom. Everybody pops up, and you're there. They got the flying jet skis. They got the little sky sleds all over the place in the first few minutes of the show. They try to take you back really quick. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the animation. I really enjoyed the voice acting. Mark Hamill as Skeletor, I don't think you could get a better choice. Sarah Michelle Gellar, Buffy the Vampire Slayer as Teela, fantastic choice. Just stellar voice acting everywhere I saw everywhere I heard in the show. 100% recommended. But I'm going to blur this into the whole addressing the butthurt thing. But don't go into it with expectations. Okay, there's going to be a little bit of seeping, not going to ruin the world spoiler coming up here. A lot of people are butthurt about the show for a couple things. One is they're feeling like they were misled because they were out there spoiler hunting, and there was misinformation thrown out there to throw off the spoiler hunters, right? There is people that are saying the show is too woke. It's no secret by now that the show centers around Teela, not around He-Man. He-Man is there, but the focus is on Teela within this show. And I don't have a problem with that. For the last while now, the branding of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe has been slipping away from the He-Man and more to Masters of the Universe, which I think is a great thing for them to be doing, to move the focus off of He-Man into Masters of the Universe, because that allows for more storytelling, wider storytelling. If we're learning anything in creation of television and movies now, wider focus on characters is better than narrow focus on characters. Okay? Marvel Cinematic Universe, having the options with all these different characters keeps your stories fresh, instead of, hey, look, there's Batman, there's the Joker, they're gonna biff boom pow for the 50th time. No, there's Ant-Man, there's Thanos. How does he not die? Because he's not using the same trick he's used 15 times, and Thanos keeps falling for the same goddamn thing. Pre-COVID, I had lent out my comics to the trade paperbacks to a coworker. I haven't gotten them back. Thank you, COVID. But I had the Masters of the Universe versus Injustice trade paperback, and I had the Masters of the Universe versus Thundercats trade paperbacks. And again, the branding was Masters of the Universe, not He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. He-Man's focus, but the branding shift has been on for quite some time. So, you true He-Man fans out there that are butthurt that Teela's the focus, you haven't been paying attention to the media around about it being too woke. Just because you centralize a story on a female character doesn't make it woke, especially not too woke. There is an implication that Teela may be a member of the LGBTQ community, which is fine. Who cares, right? The minor implications that you see don't do anything. They're not going to have Teela eating her friend on screen in the show. While it is aimed towards an older audience, Netflix is not going to be putting He-Man hentai out there. So who cares? If you can't handle the idea of a non-straight relationship, and if you're worried about your children seeing it, your children are more exposed to it and more accepting of it than any generation ever was. It's not a thing to be concerned about. If your child happens to be a member of the LGBTQ community, it's a thing you're going to have to deal with, and a cartoon isn't going to be suddenly switching them up. It's a thing that's in them, so who cares? Move along. If you can't handle it, move along. Figure it out. You got to deal with it when you go to the grocery store. You can deal with it when you watch a cartoon. The biggest part of the butthurt I'm hearing, and this is what amazes me, is people are butthurt because they were led astray on what the story was supposed to be. Here's my thing with that. Okay? Now, this is a personal policy I have. I've came up for myself after having a couple movies spoiled for me just by clicking through Facebook, clicking on trailers, clicking on videos, because I wanted to know what was going on with the movie, but getting movies completely spoiled before they occurred. I had Star Trek Into Darkness completely spoiled for me before I watched it because I saw a video. I clicked on a thing. People were making memes, things of that nature. I hate that, right? I have a policy now where I avoid, when I have a TV show or a movie I want to watch, I go kind of into a media blackout now, because I don't want to have my show or movie ruined for me, right? I had Avengers Endgame ruined for me, not Endgame, Avengers Infinity War ruined for me, the who's gonna be there at the end, who's not gonna be there at the end, by spoilers on the internet. I couldn't get there opening night. I had a job, I was working nights at the time. I couldn't just drop all my business to go watch a movie, and then I come home at night after a rough day, I go on Facebook to try to catch up and see what's happening in my friends' lives, and all of a sudden I see all these dithering off memes of everybody who died in this movie, and it just ruined it for me. It's just what it is. It's annoying, and it's a thing of everybody trying to prove how smart they are because they can sleuth things out. So you know what? If you had to be Mr. Super Sleuth and try to figure out what was going on in a cartoon, and then you had that ruined for you because they threw the misinformation out there to protect the show for people like me, you can go take care of yourself there, buddy. I don't care. Your butthurtness is secondary, tertiary to anything that matters. That's what I have to say about the butthurtness. I'll come around to some of that stuff again as we get into as I talk more on the story and what I thought. Again, I recommend the show. I recommend you going into it with an open mind, and I recommend watching it with a friend if you haven't. If you have somebody who missed Masters of the Universe as a child, missed the He-Man cartoons, watch it with them. There's not a lot of explaining that has to be done with it. I'm going to potentially try to talk my girlfriend into watching this and see what she has to say about it, because I kind of want an outside opinion on the show and see where I line up with people who aren't familiar with the property. Now I'm going to get a little more in-depth on the show. First episode, By the Power of Grayskull. First of all, that opening battle scene I thought was fantastic. I thought it was great to get the characters coming in, boom, 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 boom. Had every inclination that the first He-Man we see was not the real one, but I like how that all broke down, right? I like how that all broke down. I thought it was great. I thought that was good. That whole battle, Prince Adam having, dispatching Man-at-Arms was great with trying to keep his opinion up. His appearance up. The character design, Prince Adam being significantly smaller than He-Man, I very much enjoy that. I very much like that. Instead of it just being like, hey, it's He-Man in a purple shirt, in a white shirt with a purple vest, Prince Adam literally being smaller is fantastic. The voice acting, again, some of it's on point, some of it, yeah, could use a little. Man, Stephen Root as Cringer, fantastic idea. Mark Hamill as Skeletor, you can't beat that. I thought it was fantastic. Teela becoming Man-at-Arms, I thought was great. I thought that was a fantastic idea. The line of the show, Skeletor, you finally used that sword the way it was meant to be, boy. That is the line of the entire show for me so far. Fantastic. Mark Hamill given the I'm dying breath sound, and then it's all, yeah, you impaled me, but I outsmarted you by Skeletor is fantastic. The fact that the ripping of the swords to progress the plot for the quest element. There's always a quest element in any show like this now. From the Netflix Voltron that came out a few years back, to the Thundercats in 2011, Transformers Cybertron, Transformers Armada, Transformers Energon. Any show, cartoon that has an overarching plot, there's always the quest element. So now we know what the quest element is to get the two halves of the sword, which I think the two halves of the sword was a great thing, because as a child you used to get the two halves of the sword with Skeletor and He-Man, where the He-Man one had a little notch at the backside, or a little tab at the backside, and the Skeletor one had a little notch on the inside so that they stuck together. I think that's great that we have that with the show. Adam being revealed to be He-Man to Teela was really good. A lot of people don't like how Teela stormed off after the revelation that Adam was He-Man. A lot of people think it was a thing. It was when you break it down, she'd been lied to her whole life, and it's implied. And anybody who's followed any Masters of the Universe media besides the original cartoon of the years knows there's another revelation coming for Teela that they just haven't put on the show. There's a little glimpse in a later episode here, but anybody who knows there's more coming for Teela. There's always been the expectation that there's more to Teela than meets the eye, despite being a different franchise. Next episode, we start off with Teela and her partner. Teela's partner, probably her partner, a partner of hers. Don't have a problem with that. Like I said, that's a focus of Butthurt, that there's implications that Tila and, I'm really bad with names, may be a little more than friends. I hope so, to be honest with you. I hope so. It would make sense story-wise. It would make sense. It would be fine. It wouldn't hurt anything either. I mean, it's a kid's show, like I've said before. We're not going to see He-Man boning Tila. We're not going to see Tila going down on her partner there. Things are what they are. It's no harm, no foul. But they get sent on the quest. I believe the alias that Evelyn used to send Tila on the quest was one that she used in the original cartoon to trick Prince Adam into something. I can't swear to it, but I think so. I could do research, but I'm not going to, because I'm enjoying the story for what it is. The next episode, Tila's questing group goes along, and they run into, I love that Triclops, so I love that there's a cult of technology that has started with the lack of magic, right? And I love anytime there's a cult in something. And I love that some of Skeletor's minions kind of, like, hey, I'm going to go live my best life because I don't have this guy bullying me around and making me do things that maybe I do, maybe I don't want to do. And then there's a couple of them that are just doing a power grab. You got Trapjaw and Triclops making a power grab. I think it's kind of neat. Triclops has a triangle eye when you think about it on top of his spinny head. That it's kind of Illuminati, and then he's running the cult. So that's kind of a thing they could have thrown a little bit more at. The fact that come across Man-at-Arms, just Duncan now, that he's been thrown away, doing his little thing in the little town. It's a good thing. Essentially Man-at-Arms is Iron Man in this show. And more as the show progresses. He's Tony Stark. He's poor Tony Stark. He's not rich Tony Stark, but he's got everything under the sun. He's got all the best toys, right? We come across Orko, who's dying because of a lack of magic. I think the way they handled Orko was fantastic. Even as a child, I hated Orko. I hated Snarf. But Orko is handled very well in this show. Episode 4, Orko makes the big sacrifice, which, like I said, I didn't care for Orko as a child. Orko on the show was characterized, the characterization was pretty good. I liked that Orko made the big sacrifice. That was pretty cool. I like that. I really enjoyed the conversation between Orko and Evelyn, where Evelyn just kind of, where Orko just reveals that there was such high hopes for him and he was a failure. And then Evelyn was like, I wasn't always evil. I wasn't intended to be evil. It's not like I was given this name, and prompted to be evil. That was really good. The Tila revelation, where there's a little more than meets the eye to her, that was kind of a finally we get there. Get to, that episode finishes up. They end up in, Masters of the Universe Heaven. I thoroughly enjoyed this. It was great to see the previous heroes. And I'm not the biggest follower of Masters of the Universe media post the cartoon in the 80s. And there's some guys I don't recall their names too and all that stuff. So, but the Great Hunt scene where we see the previous heroes, the previous champions, because we don't see Hero yet. We just see the previous champions, where we see we end up seeing Grayskull. We do eventually see Hero in a different part of this part here. We see a Conan looking guy, which makes great sense because the He-Man toy line was originally supposed to be a Conan toy line until the license got pulled. We see a guy dressed as in the Wonder Bread, the mythical Wonder Bread He-Man costume. See a sorceress looking person, and then we see Grayskull, and that was great. That was a good scene. That was a good chase. Good to see all those people. Seeing Hero, which is a toy I'd been seeing for some years. I always thought it was a good looking toy. Kind of really wanted to get a little bit of a story on that, but I really got to be careful with how many comic books I purchase, otherwise I slip into a thing where I have no money for life. But it was really good. The choices that they had to make, you know, the sacrifices, the Adam bearing his soul to Tila, and then again Mr. Roboto, whatever his name is, sacrificed himself, forging the sword, giving a very, very Data from Star Trek speech as he died. Very Data from Star Trek speech. As he went away. That was I really thought that was cool. Then Adam gets the choice put to him where he can stay in heaven, hero paradise, or he can go back to Eternia, and if he returns, he can't come back to hero paradise. I feel there's going to be more to that somewhere. I feel that the comment of Adam being the only champion to choose his human form versus his champion form in paradise is going to play into something down the road, some way that Adam can come back. It's some way that He-Man can come back. But then we'll get to that in a minute. Then we get to the final episode of this chapter. The final episode of the chapter. Well, that's actually part of the final episode of the chapter. Anyhow, they get back to Grayskull. Man-at-Arms is pulling full-on Tony Stark Iron Man stuff on the walls of, it's not Castle Grayskull, it's the Hall of Elders or whatever cleaned up Castle Grayskull is, and destroying all the little He-Man tanks, these guys, the Rotons that are zipping around and all that stuff, just casually blasting those things, taking out whole armies, no problem, right? It's not sweating nothing. Oh, by the way, Merman, Kevin Conroy is Merman. Never get me enough Kevin Conroy. Never get me enough of him. But you put Kevin Conroy in the same spot as Mark Hamill, gold, 100% of the time, all the time. Yeah, so I missed that part because I forgot what part that was in. But yes, works 50% of the time, all the time. But they start restoring the magic. Skeletor's revived. The look on Evelyn's face, like, oops, I f***ed up. I didn't mean to revive Skeletor. Leads me to believe in the next part, she's part of the downfall of Skeletor. The final there, where Skeletor surprise impales Adam before he could turn into He-Man. Fantastic. The cliffhanger of, jacked up super Skeletor is fantastic. I take that back. I didn't like the look of Skeletor protruding from the castle. That was kind of too corny, but I mean that's just a minor blip. I'd have rather it just ended in shadows without seeing Super Skeletor. I like that we're left with the cliffhanger of Adam dying on the ground. I like the Evelyn, like I said, the Evelyn and Beastman going back to Skeletor, but not really enthusiastically. That's the key to the end of Chapter 2. Those two are going to come around and help out the Masters of the Universe. Teela is going to become either the champion or the sorcerer, because it's always been that she was supposed to be become the sorcerer. Like, it's always been the rumor since I was a kid. So, I mean, I hope that wasn't a spoiler there, but I feel either that's going to happen or she's going to become the next champion. And I feel Teela will become the sorceress, and I feel Eva Lynn will be her mentor, will be her trainer, the person who teaches her magic, teaches her how to use the magic once she, like, kind of kicks in there, right? Like she's going to be Teela's Yoda. At least tease killing characters. Like, we're left with the question mark on Orko. I hope Orko's dead. I liked this Orko, but I hope he's dead. Just that there's some permanence to some things. When in that early episode, when we see Trapjaw get what should have been lobotomized, I wish that kind of would have stayed. I mean, I would have really liked to have seen more action on Trapjaw anyhow, but so I'm kind of glad he was around. But, you know, I also kind of wish that him getting lobotomized would have had a little more consequence than a scratch on his helmet. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the show. I'm looking forward to the second chapter. If you don't like the show because it's too woke, butthurt because you were led astray because they didn't want to spoil the story so that you could go on and prove how smart you are and ruin stories for the rest of us because you found out the show starting centers around Teela or whatever. If you couldn't just take the show for being the show that it was, just go away. Let the rest of us enjoy. You know, don't watch the next chapter. Nobody's going to force you to. Right? I mean, why do something that makes you unhappy? I know there's going to be a lot of people who don't like what I said, so please feel free to comment, you know, your corrections to me, because yes, there is some of my child brain that remembers He-Man for what it was, and some of my child brain, you know, that remembers the facts. Some of it remembers my playing with the toys. Some of it remembers the mini comics. Some of it remembers the books with the records attached. So I've got a little bit of a jumble there. You know, I believe there was a book with a record where Teela becomes the sorceress. Can't swear to it though, but I feel like that happened. You know, but whatever the case may be, like, comment, subscribe. You find me on all the social medias, like I've said before: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. Not a whole lot of content on anything but Facebook. You know, I'm gonna try to do more reviews of things. I'm going to try to do more reviews of things. Try to have some more discussions. Would love to try to find a way to have literal discussions that me and other people can have on the internet through Zoom or something like that. Do a recorded Zoom, something of that nature, where we could each post parts onto our YouTubes or whatever, and have discussions about things. Like have discussions about the show, have discussions about other shows, have discussions about wrestling, discussions about Star Trek, you know, things of that nature. Really would like to have some Zoom. There's a creator out there, Steve Shives, who makes some very interesting Star Trek content that I would love to have some discussions with. Literal just discussions. Like, let's have a discussion about this topic. I think him and I could have. We are like-minded enough, but also differently minded enough. I think we could create we could have some interesting intellectual discussions regarding Star Trek. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and thank you very much. I will catch you on down the road.